I brought with an exciting topic today, something that I spend a lot of time on, and that's how do we have to think differently if we're looking at leveraging new technologies. And the topic today is a paradigm shift that all of us that deal with marketing, especially digital marketing, are facing. At my time at BBG is the first time when I really was trying to use AI in an everyday context. And we had a lot of initiatives that we used to try to get AI going, and some of them worked, and some of them didn't work. And it wasn't because the model, the AI model that we were leveraging, it wouldn't have been feasible. We actually realized that the real problem is frequency and volume of data needed to train the model. Now, in the past years, technologies and methodologies have really advanced, and they've enabled a lot of new ways of how to apply AI for dealing with the problems we face with every day. But what's interesting as AI becomes a part of our life, I'm realizing that there's a different challenge that we have to face, and that's of shifting paradigms. Because the first thing that we try to do is we always just try to apply AI in the world that we think about today, how we work today. And that's not really a good environment for applying AI. So just a quick show of hands. Who here is involved in digital marketing? That's a fair amount. How many of you know what an A/B test is? Everyone knows what an A/B test is. Great. So we'll be able to go through this quickly. But an A/B test is a fundamental way of how we use to measure different things. So with A/B, there's two elements. And there's two main goals that we have with an A/B test. The first one is to measure impact. I have a control group in A, and I change something on B. I put B in, and I look what changed. And I'm trying to measure impact. The other element is I'm trying to determine which is better. So if I go and I say, oh, I'm going to run two different ads, and I want to know which one is doing better, now I'm comparing two things. And I try to keep the rest of my environment constant, and I'm just changing the content. But what is it that we're actually trying to decide when we're running A/B tests? Are we thinking about where is our marketing euro best spent? Are we thinking about maybe how do I increase efficiency because there's a big marketing decision that I'm trying to make? Or maybe it's more fundamental. I actually have a goal to maximize my revenue. But, you know, we hear the term data-driven a lot. Another show of hands, who here would consider themselves as data-driven and leveraging data for their everyday decisions? So A/B tests give us a lot of data because we love data. And we've gotten to the point, though, that we don't like making decisions without data. So we invent, and the A/B test is really useful for this, we invent a situation where we say, okay, we're going to put an A/B test in, and we're going to use the A/B test to generate the data, and we want the data to make the decision for us. That's where we've gotten to. That's pretty dangerous. But let's go through, let's set up a test, and let's see what happens. So we have a campaign for Easter for a new product that's being launched. Creative gives us the finalists of their two creatives. But before we go and spend all that money on the campaign, we actually want to find out which ad performs better and which ad do we actually want to use for this Easter campaign. So we have the realm of the entire audience, the yellow box, everyone that we could reach. And because we have some experience, we're actually already filtering that a bit, and we're defining an audience. So we have a subset. That's the audience that sees the ad. And of course, we split that up and say 50% sees A and 50% sees B. And we have an A/B test, and we're happy because we're going to get a lot of data. So what are the metrics that we look at? Well, we start out with the click-through rate. How many see A click through and how many B? If I would stop the test here, I'd say, I've got a winner. A is the better ad. But of course, we're more sophisticated than that. We're not going to stop at that metric. We start looking at bounce rate. Say, oh, A, they're clicking on it, but they're jumping off the site straight away. And then we start looking and saying, well, how many people are actually doing something in my shop? Are they adding something to the cart? And from that number, how many people are actually going through the checkout? Oh, and interesting, if I look at what they're buying, now we're talking about ads about the same products, one ad is producing 10% more revenue on average than the other ad. But because I had more orders, ad B produces more revenue. And of course, then I have the better ROAS. But going through that data, raise of hands, who would say that A is better? And who would say B is better? So that's interesting. Some metrics, depending what's important in the company and how you think about things, A is better, and in other metrics, B is better. Now, I'm kind of a ROAS type of guy, so I say, okay, I'm a ROAS guy, and so B wins. But there's one more thing about A/B tests that I want to take you through and to think about before we get into the paradigm shift. And that's the following. An A/B test is over time. The value that you see at the end is an average. And the time is because you need a certain data set to get relevance. Now, here we see B had a really good day on day 5, and A had 2 bad days. It just tanked. For some reason, it didn't work. And that's why B wins. But there's got to be something better than averaging and looking at those averages. And actually, there's one more problem. We said B is the winner, and we had made the decision in front, and we said, okay, B gets all of the advertising dollars. I'm going to run this campaign with B and do my Easter campaign. And I start running it, and I notice that my ROAS is going down. And then I remember, oh, man, marketing spend has diminishing returns. So if I don't change anything at all, the impact of my dollar that I'm spending becomes less and less every single euro that I spend. And that limits the amount of time. So if I have a threshold and I say, well, my ROAS can never go below 2, that's kind of my company threshold, I'm turning off that ad somewhere between day 20 and day 30 because it's simply not bringing the performance anymore. Let's go back to the data. What else do you see when you look at this data? Now, in a comparison, the click-through rate, maybe the bounce rate, those are direct measurements from the ad. But after that, it's user interaction on the website. And their behavior is really different. When I look at data like this, I see 2 different audiences, not 2 different ads. So the question is, if we stop looking at this as 2 ads that I'm comparing, but at 2 separate audiences, can we optimize that? Separate it out? Second paradigm, audience optimization. This is the part which is very exciting. Now, if you remember, we talked about A/B tests. One of the core elements is to measure impact. Here, you have a totally different goal. The idea is to improve the performance of a specific ad. So what you get is a bigger A prime. The same ad. You haven't changed anything on the content, but you change the audience that is seeing the content, and you're improving your metrics. That's what audience optimization is about. It's about increasing impact. And if we think about that diminishing curve topic that we had before, well, you're also extending the productive time of your ads because you're continuously improving it. How does that work? The core idea, and here we see from Creative A, the same A/B test that we did, the data of the interactions that were going on. Now, the idea is that every interaction that happens out of that ad, that's where the value is. It's not just in the result, but it's in the interaction. What would happen if we take the audience, we can identify the type of users that clicked, the types of users that didn't bounce, the types of users that put something into their shopping cart, the types of users that bought, maybe the types of users that bought more. Then suddenly, I start shaping an audience. So in comparison, let's see how this works. Again, we have the potential audience, we have selection criteria because we have some experience, and now we're showing it to one ad because we want to optimize for this ad. That ad is giving interaction feedback back to you. You can redefine your selection criteria after analyzing that feedback, and you have a changed audience that sees the ad the second round. So every iteration is designed to make the impact greater. That is what you're trying to do, is to improve the performance of your audience. And of course, this leads to higher metrics. So the more that iterations I can put in, the more performant my advertisement becomes. We're back at our A/B test at the ROAS curve of ad A. Now, if we start thinking about every day being an increment where I can optimize, suddenly that 10-day period are 10 iterations that I could be doing. There are 10 times that I can be improving the audience. And that leads to a completely different ROAS curve because I'm improving the audience every single day. And it's not just about adding behavior, it's taking away behavior that I don't want. So it's improving from two sides. And those small steps, those small improvements that you're doing every day, that's what compounds. That's where the real impact comes from. I spent my whole life scaling things. And the first question that I have, say, okay, I get it. I understand. I get how audience optimization works. And I look at this and I say, well, I need, for that interaction feedback analysis, I need some data scientists that do this. And I need a lot of data to get significant information back there. So it's a lot of work to try to scale this. And if I start thinking about it and I start thinking, wow, I want to have all of these audiences. I want to do multiple audiences. Do I have to hire so many people? Is that how I solve this? That doesn't scale. So we've got a recursive task. It's data-driven. We like that. And it's happening in a large quantity. It's also in a very high frequency. You guys all know what I'm going to say next, right? This is great for AI. It's great for an AI model. But what kind of AI model can I do this? Causal inference. I'm actually going and I want to predict how my audience is going to act. That's what I'm trying to do. And I use a model, AI model, to do that. Now, how do I set up a model like that? Well, I start off, I have a general model. I say, what am I trying to achieve? I'm interested in certain interactions. And these interactions really are company shop specific. They don't have to be standards. And I need to train the model. So I start feeding the model all of the data from my shop. all the users that come in, the traffic, the ads that they're seeing, and I'm letting the model understand behavior on my shop. And what does the model do? Well, it starts trying to anticipate the behavior. It's predicting the probability for an interaction if an ad is shown. And using that probability and saying who is most likely, I actually create my selection criteria. And this is where it gets really interesting. I run the ad, I get ad-specific interaction criteria back, and I can update the prediction. The prediction getting updated changes my selection criteria, and then I run it through for the next iteration, and the next iteration, and I get a reinforcement loop going on for my model. Now, if I have to set up a model like this for every single campaign that I do, and I have to always start with a blank model, and I have to retrain that model every single time in order for it to work, then I can't really scale that either, can I? I can't do this for multiple audiences, so I need a different structure for that. And before what I mentioned of methodologies going further in AI, this is a methodology topic. So let's take the AI model and let's split it apart into two chunks. We have a parent AI model that I'm training on my shop and my shop behavior. And then when I have a campaign that's going, I'm showing it the ad, and I'm getting a campaign AI model that's reinforcing itself on the campaign. Now, I have my next campaign. All I do is I spawn up another campaign AI model. And after that, I can spawn up another campaign AI model. I don't need to retrain the parent model. So suddenly, I have one AI model that is able to quickly ramp up and can generate new selection criteria for all of my different campaigns. But is an AI model automating the criteria adjustment, is that enough? Does that solve my problem that I have? So I've got huge amount of criteria being changed every day. I've got 100 campaigns running. I have 100 campaigns that want to be adjusted every single day. One step missing: automation. I now need to get the selection criteria that I'm updating automatically into the platforms where I'm running my campaigns. So I'm updating these criteria daily, and I actually want to automatically see those audience updates going into the platforms that I'm using where the campaign is running, where the audience lives. And it's this combination of AI-generated criteria changes and automatic audience updates on the platforms that gives you a model that can scale. So we're talking about shifting paradigms. That's the main topic today. We started off with an A/B test that's focusing on measuring impact, that's providing data. We introduced a new way of thinking about it and saying, well, measuring impact is historical. I want to impact I want to increase the impact for the future. And I showed you a way how leveraging AI and automation actually enables that. There's one final message that I want to give with you today. More general. This is just an example of it. When we're thinking about AI, and AI really has a very bright future, it is a catalyst for change. But there is a big barrier to using it with innovation. And those are the roadblocks that are in our own head. It's the paradigms that we currently structure today, how we work, how we think about things, how we solve things, that's actually blocking us from using AI truly innovatively. So, thank you very much. I hope that you have gained some insights on applying AI and thinking about AI differently. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love talking about innovation. I'm an angel investor. I'm always looking for new ideas and where I can meet new interesting people. So thank you.
You talked a lot about new technologies, integrating them into workflows. What about Olution? How are you seeing your future developments at Olution?
Oh, well, so Olution is the company that I invest through. So I've been doing it for over a year now. 7 really exciting investments. We'll be growing that number. Actually, one of my investments is here at the Expo as well. So,
give them a shout out.
Yeah, so shout out to Hey Circle. Hey Circle is doing a multi-use packaging for sending. You can see them just outside. Very exciting multi-use packaging for e-commerce.